kind of know where I'm going. Well, took the wrong turn. All right, there we go. Sup everyone, I'm Paul Clark, Sup Paul. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'm excited. We're going to the homestead, the modern homestead of Wrangler Star. Cody is a successful business owner by running a successful YouTube channel. So I'm going to his place east of the Cascades, secret location. Maybe not so secret, but anyway, I'm excited. Let's go do this and talk about running a YouTube channel.
My name is Cody. I run the YouTube channel Wrangler Star. It's kind of a story of our family moving out of an urban environment from Portland, Oregon, close in the city, and buying a 60-acre homestead in the middle of nowhere to be a little bit more self-sufficient. So we wanted to raise our kids out in the country, we wanted to homeschool, we wanted to eat healthier, have just a healthier lifestyle, grow our own food, and just be a little bit more self-reliant. So the channel kind of stemmed from that, following that journey of leaving close-in urban environment to living in the middle of nowhere. Most of my life I've worked in construction, and kind of just anonymous guy doing the same thing. Building this audience and having this channel has put me in contact with just some fascinating people, fascinating opportunities to travel. We've done a lot of speaking. It's just opened up opportunities that I never thought would ever be possible. And it's just been fun. It's been the funnest job I've ever had. It's not like the early days where you could go buy a $150 camera at Costco, like I started, and have bad light and bad audio and bad editing. The bar has been raised. Now that there's a financial stake in it, now that there's so much money in it, you have to stay relevant. So you have to up your game because there's somebody that's just as hungrier than you are or willing to take your spot. So it's very competitive. Look at it as a job. I put probably 10 to 12 hours a day into it from the time, that's thinking about the time, that's considering the time that I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, what I'm doing, my storyline, to the setup, to the editing. It's a good 10, 12 hours a day. If you're starting out assuming that you're going to become a big star, make a lot of money on it, you're probably going to fail because it's just too much work. You might be looking at 3, 4, 5 years before you start seeing enough money where you can actually start relying upon it. So to do that for that long, you need to do what you love. So if you're just following trends or you're doing something because someone else has been successful at it, it's most likely you're not going to be able to keep that up for any length of time. You absolutely have to follow your passion. It's got to be what you're enthusiastic about, what you're willing to do day after day after day, because enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm, and people can tell when you're not sincere. And I don't care if you're collecting stamps. If you're passionate about it and you're super stoked about it, people will watch. I hear all the time, I have no interest in anything you do, but the fact that you get so excited about it, it draws me in, and that's why we watch. I consider myself a very lucky guy that gets to do what he wants to do. I've been around professional filmmakers and I've seen what they can do. I certainly wouldn't put myself in that category, but I aspire to that. And for me, doing this all the time and doing it for 10 years like I have, if I'm not continuing to get better, then I'll get bored with it. So that's why I keep trying to get better. I try to get better with lighting, I understand that. I always try to improve my my visuals, my camera placements, my audio, all those things, and that helps me to stay interested in it when I can see that I'm getting better and better and better. You never really figure it out, but you can always improve. I could be, I guess, a lot further along than I am because I just didn't for example, thumbnails. Thumbnails and titles for videos are probably the most important part of it. Yeah, you got to have good audio, you have to have decent content. That's just assuming that you have that, the thumbnails, and knowing how to get your stuff found. You got to be careful. You can't just have a channel that just goes everywhere. You can't, well, I'm going to do cooking, and then I'm going to do travel, and then I'm going to do some sport, and I'm going to do basketball. Because when you upload that video and you submit it to YouTube, YouTube categorizes you. They want you to basically stay in your box. So you got to find that niche, whatever it is, and you got to start exploiting it. So everything has got to be funneled through the idea behind your channel. So you do have to have some focus. So it's really hard for some people because a lot of channels started off when Minecraft was really popular, like Sky does Minecraft or Minecraft. So you have to be careful when picking your YouTube channel that you don't pigeonhole yourself too much, because in 4 or 5 years, no one really is interested in Minecraft anymore, and yet, so you're stuck here. YouTube sees you as a Minecraft channel, and you can't ever break out of that. And sometimes it might be even better to start a new channel. So the important thing is behind the scenes. You need to understand SEO, you need to understand the algorithms, you need to understand the importance of keywords and titling and thumbnails and all of that, because there's a lot of people competing for the same space. And if you're not being recommended by YouTube, meaning if you're not in that sidebar, on the right hand side, then you are probably not going to do very well. I'm really careful when I upload videos. I will upload a video, I will connect to a VPN, and then I will immediately search that video through all sorts of different web browsers, so they don't know that I'm attached to this. There's no cookies attached. So I can see immediately what categories I own. There's particular categories that I can own. Homesteading, anything to do with axes or chainsaws, or that sort of thing, kind of rural country living. So I have to always kind of frame all of my content inside of that, and then I'll be rewarded for it. It's really, really important. It's a lot of work. It's a full-time job. Because the reason why those guys start that is because they want free stuff. You know, they're gear, what do they call them, gear queers, right? And so, you know, they want to get the free stuff, and if they can establish a name, then they'll start having companies contact them, and they're flying them all over whenever they release a new camera or something like that. It's just not reliable. It's like talking to a realtor, you know, about property. They're not going to be completely candid with you. What you want to talk to is you want to talk to a pro, someone who uses it day in and day out. That's like when I buy a welder, I don't go and talk to the salesman. I go to the in the back, I talk to the guy that's working on them. Hey, what would you recommend? You know, what's the best one to use, or the guy that's using it every day? That's where you get the straight answer. I've learned a ton from YouTube videos, but you got to got to really be careful with the source. You got to make sure you're getting stuff from guys that are actually doing it for a living. So when I want lighting information, I'm not going to the guys getting free stuff. I'm going to the guys that are like working for the studios, you know, they're actually handling this stuff all the time, and that's where you get the real story. That's really important. Building a loyal audience is that they can trust you. It's going to be super tempting, because as soon as you start getting some success on YouTube, you're going to have manufacturers that are contacting you. They want access to your audience, and they're going to offer you money, and they're going to offer you free stuff. And if a guy offers you 20 grand to review something, it's hard to turn down. And a lot of guys will do it even though it's something that they know is not very good or that they would never use. If you want to just cash in really quick and burn your audience, you can do that, but you just can't do it. The cost is too high. If you've spent 5-10 years building an audience and building a channel on trust and honesty, you can't take those deals. So it's either the quick gain or it's the long term. So you got to really weigh those costs. There was a few things that I endorsed that I don't know. You know, I probably wouldn't do now, but I've also been very careful. I wouldn't endorse anything or feature something that I wouldn't buy with my own money. So I've turned down 99% of them, and the ones that I do work with and the companies that I do endorse or sponsor the channel are usually things that I've used before YouTube even existed. I'm just shooting some B-roll right now. So what I'll typically do on my videos is the attention span of people is really short, so you kind of got to really get to it. So I'll take maybe 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and I'll announce, today we're going to be doing thus and so, and then I'll cut into some B-roll with some, you know, something to build a little bit of excitement, some of the better stuff in the video. That seems to help. I try to show people in 15, 20 seconds basically what the 10-minute video is going to be about. So they can make a choice whether they want to watch it or not watch it. Well, you make more money with a 10-minute video is one portion of it. Also, people seem to like that. A lot of people are watching now mostly on their mobile. It's flipped. Every year it increases like 10% from desktop to mobile. And now I think my audience is like 65% watching mobile. So a lot of times that's on breaks at work, or just, you know, if they're waiting somewhere. So that usually keep it under 10 minutes, around 10 minutes, people have time to watch that. There's a term that we use called hero videos, and that's your passion project. That's something that you've thought about, that you'll put a ton of work into. For me to do a hero video that's 10 minutes, it might have as many as 200 individual shots. That's 200 times of moving the camera, moving the light, you know, setting everything, thinking about everything, that can take a long time. That's probably an 8-hour shoot. And then editing, you can double that. You can't maintain that. You can't do hero videos every day, so you have to have things that are easy for you to do. So you might just be feeling a particular way about something, or you might want to comment about something, current events, or something that happened to you, and you pull up the bar stool by the wood stove, and you'll just talk for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So it's a mix of those. You can't say what is the normal, it just depends. You do those hero videos when you can, you know, maybe one a week or so, and everything else is kind of a fill and a placeholder for that. If you try to do it every day, it's just impossible. It's just too much work for one person. There's so many moving parts now that the videography of it is so complex, I have to be really organized. So usually in the morning when I wake up, I seem to do my best thinking in the shower. It's like the only place in the house that I'm separated from like influence or emails or computers. And so I'll kind of work out in my head the story that I want to tell and what I want to do. So I have that pretty well established when I come out, and I'm really organized with my stuff. So I'll make a list of these are the tools that I'm going to need to do this particular build. And so I have everything laid out. I don't have to think about it anymore. Then I'll move to the video side of it. Make sure that the batteries are all charged. I have everything ready to go, cards formatted 100%. Then when I have everything in place, then I'll start the video. That way I can concentrate on the story and I'm not being so distracted by a battery that's went dead or the card not formatted, or I don't have the right lens or something. So that's really important. Then I can just do what I want to do. But I shoot the story in sequence, so my editing is very simple. I basically just cut to the audio. I don't flip stuff around. I'll usually shoot it pretty much in sequence apart from the B-roll. If the advice that I would give someone is buy the best equipment you can afford, because I've ended up buying everything 3 times. First I went really cheap, and then when you start working with stuff, it's your daily tools and you're handling it every day, it just doesn't hold up. Then I kind of went to prosumer stuff and you run into the same thing, it just is not reliable for day-to-day use. So now I'm finally getting into the best, more of a professional grade stuff. And it's, when you do this all the time, you've got to make it easy, because it's such a task to produce good content by yourself, because you're the audio guy, you're the visual guy, you're writing the stories, you're the talent, the whole thing. So all of this stuff is nothing more, you got to make it as easy as possible, because all it does is get you in your way of telling a story. So it's got to be seamless, it's got to be easy, so you can concentrate on the story and and the content, rather than the camera settings or a tripod that falls off and breaks your $2,000 lamp. One of the things I like to do on the channel, like this particular build, is the thing that's kind of lacking with what guys really like is videos that they can relate to. So I don't overcomplicate things. I've got access to a lot of tools that other guys don't have access to, so I try to do builds with like really simple stuff. This table, for example, we built it really cheap. It's affordable. Anyone can do it, from just stuff you can buy at Home Depot. Nothing exotic, no fancy tools or anything like that. And that's what kind of separates the channel from a lot of the woodworking stuff. Not that I just do woodworking, but they're just unrelatable. And I think that's why YouTube is so popular with a lot of people, because you can go there and you can watch a guy that looks like you, with a shop like you, that's doing the type of thing, and when you see that, you're like, oh, I can do that. But you go on network television and the guy's got $1 million worth of equipment and he's got helpers behind the scenes, and he's able to do things that a common guy would never be able to achieve, and so it's not relatable. So I think that's one of the big draws with YouTube is it's just guys like us, doing videos and projects. This is an inside joke on the channel. A lot of fun we have is the kind of a rivalry between the East Coast and West Coast guys. So I'm always making fun of the East Coast guys. We go back and forth in the comments. So having that camaraderie and joking back and forth and being relatable and personable is really important, because it draws a lot of attention, or draws a lot of interest in the comments. And so I'll provoke people by wearing a West Coast hat or something maybe on my shirt that's a little controversial, to stir up, just to have a little bit of fun with it, with the audience. That's engagement, yeah. And a lot of people will think that if someone is attacking them, or they have an opinion that's not popular and it's drawing a lot of attention on the channel, that's something that's bad, but it's not. If people are dialoguing and they're talking and they're commenting and they're stirred or they're moved in any way, that's what you want, because you're touching nerves, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's all engagement, and it's all, you should welcome it. Don't delete comments, don't try to hide stuff. Just lay it out there and let it be. It's all engagement and it's all good. Yeah, that's a tough one, and it's something that there's always, everyone says, well, you got to get a thick skin, and it's a hard thing to do if you're a sensitive person and you care about what people think. It gets to the point where I used to really get annoyed, and I would go to war on comments and try to straighten out or correct the internet, and now I just answer it with humor. So someone comes and attacks. What I found is if you engage in that and you go to war with them, it'll just escalate, and then you get agitated and they get agitated, and it's just no good. If you can just answer with humor and just own it, if somebody will accuse me of something or something negative, I'll just say, yep, guilty as charged. I totally am terrible at this. It deflates it. It puts an end to it. You don't carry it around the rest of the day. You don't care. It's just lighthearted, and usually you win a friend. If you can respond that way with the comments, I have more times than not. You'll get a personal message within a week and say, hey, I'm sorry. That was out of line. I appreciate the way you answered. I was expecting something different, but you answered in comedy or you answered in kind, and now I'm a subscriber. Point across or your tone in a comment, and when you're answering comments and when you don't know who the person is on the other side, you just the default position is just to assume that they're kind of like you and your age and the way you think. And when you hear that, you got to realize this may be from a 12-year-old boy. This may be somebody that's, maybe he's drunk, or maybe he's just having a bad day and he didn't mean to come across like that. So you can't assume that it's automatically it's an attack. So you got to take a step back, get some clarification if you want to engage with it, and just realize that. And also, like your channel, for example, is a very niche thing. And you are surrounded with that, and you're surrounded with that type of people, and everyone knows what a leash is, and everyone knows what a retractable fin is and all that. But most people don't know these things. So you can get these questions that you think, or that's really a dumb question, or it's not. It's someone maybe seeing stand-up paddleboarding for the very first time. Someone might be seeing woodworking for the very first time, and so they just don't know. They're not trying to be insulting. They're just ignorant, and they want to learn. And one of the most important things is I don't reshoot anything. So I've done entire videos where I'll cut myself or something is a complete fail, and I've shot all day for it. I'll put that video up and I'll say at the end, we tried. It's not, I'm not an expert here, and that's one way to really deflate negativity, is if you try to, if you're not like really solid on your topic, right, and you're going to be doing a tutorial, you're going to be showing someone how to do something, that's when the trolls will come in, because there's always going to be someone that knows a lot more about it or thinks they know a lot more about it than you do. And if you come off as the expert, then you are ready for attack. I open the videos as like, I've never done this before. I don't even know if this is going to work. Let's do it together. Let's see how it works out. If it does, good. If not, that way you don't open yourself up to attacks. If someone wants to say, you really sucked at that, it's like, yeah, I sure did. It's the first time I've done it. But next time, hopefully it'll be better. It diffuses everything. It doesn't get you agitated. And it's just a way better way to run your channel. When we started the channel and those checks started coming in, we sat down and we said, okay, I really hate what I'm doing. What is the number that we need to make from YouTube so we can stop doing the old job and we can start doing YouTube full time? And we wrote that number down. And as soon as we hit it, that's when I made the transition. We started doing YouTube full time, but it was pretty tight, the budget on that. So we had to make the decision. We had to make a lot of decisions for products and things that were coming in that were offering us money, and it wasn't a ton of money, but it was $2,000 here and $5,000 there, and these little things that you could do so easily that I could have just made one video and made that $6,000, but at what price? At sacrificing my integrity, at putting something out there that my audience knows that I don't really endorse and don't believe in, and so we just tightened our belt and just hung in there. So yes, it's easy now that we're financially secure and we can pick and choose what we want, but it wasn't easy in the early days. We probably receive inquiries a dozen or so a day from corporations, different companies, people that want access to our audience. Yeah, you could maximize that if you wanted to hire a few people and take advantage of all of those things. You could make a ton of money. You could make more money in a month than most guys make in a year, but at the cost of your channel. There's a lot of people that have done that, and they've had channels that were really, really successful that in the space of 6 months were almost dead because they put money before their subscribers. So you've got to get to the point where you have to know yourself and realize how much is enough for me, how much do I need to do the things that I want to do and to live the lifestyle that I want, and be content with that. Because you can always chase more, but to get to that point, you're going to be compromising your integrity. You're probably going to be getting involved with brands or particular products that are not things that you would normally endorse, and people are not stupid and they'll see through it. So you've got to be really careful with that, respect your audience, and just don't take, just because it's being offered to you, and just because you can make an extra $10,000 doesn't mean you always should. YouTube is a big portion of our income, but also you need to build relationships with companies that you believe in. So we work with like DeWalt and Yanmar, really good companies that have supported our channel. And then we've done the book, and we sell merchandise and different things. So we have income coming in from lots of different locations. So if one of those were to be cut off, we're not completely destitute. And being out of debt is really important. We don't have any debt, and we buy things with cash, and we don't borrow money and have credit card debt and that sort of thing. And so we can live pretty frugally. So a combination of those two things gives you a lot of security. Because if you are, it's a real treadmill. If you're receiving all your income from YouTube and you've got no diversification, nothing else going on, if that spigot gets shut off, I mean, that could be a devastating blow. Devastating, especially if you have employees and different people working for you and a family relying upon you.
Cody is awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day and allowing me to interview you, Cody. Your channel is an inspiration. If you like this, please hit that like button, subscribe, do all that type of stuff to make my channel grow. And if you're not already, subscribe to Cody's Wrangler Star.